USALA Media, estamos aquí de nuevo en Campus. Dylan de Rosato y Dani Ramos dirigen este programa. Les habla Fernando Mendez en compañía de un juez, Kenneth Joel. Bienvenido. Welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Judge Kenneth Joel, who is running for
Court of Common Pleas in Philadelphia.
The Court of Common Pleas in Philadelphia. I was telling the judge that I had a good friend, Lisa Richette, she was my remember, she was a famous judge. She was sort of flamboyant, but quite liberal, and she was always worried about women's issues. If she was still alive, this would be a great time for her with all the hullabaloo about women's rights and the decisions of the court. So, I know that judges have a tough time answering questions because there are some issues that they don't want to establish what they think.
Yes.
Because those issues might come before the court.
Correct.
Right. So, within those parameters, we'll just worry if I ask you something and you say, can't answer that because, for whatever reason. A little bit of your biography.
Sure.
You've been in Common Pleas for a fairly long time, 30 years?
I've been an attorney for over 30 years. I've been on the bench since last October. I took the oath.
Oh, so that's
last
short.
October. So about 7 months now. I was appointed by Governor Wolf last year and took the oath. And since October, I've been on the bench in a criminal room, doing criminal trials every day.
Criminal trials, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm acquainted with some judges who are in family court, which is a whole different animal, no?
Yeah, in Philadelphia County, the Court of Common Pleas has different divisions. So there's a civil division,
Right.
There's a criminal division, a family division, an orphans division, and right now I'm assigned, and have been since October, assigned to the criminal division.
Okay, so I ask people usually, why are you running for this position? What makes you think this is what you want to do?
So why I'm running for the position is I thoroughly love my job and I love serving the people of Philadelphia. I've had my whole career, I've been a lawyer now for over 30 years, going on 32 years, and my entire career has been built on protecting people's rights, whether it was when I was in private practice. I had an environmental practice that focused on individuals and communities trying to combat destructive development. I went to the AG's office where I represented Commonwealth employees and defended, at first, Governor Rendell and his policies, also defended the constitutionality of statutes that were designed to protect us. From there, finished out my time with the AG's office as chief deputy to then AG, now Governor Josh Shapiro, where I headed up all the civil litigation in Philadelphia, Harrisburg, and Pittsburgh. Went to the governor's office in 2018 as a deputy general counsel, and there did more work protecting people's rights. For example, I was instrumental in defending our fundamental right to vote coming out of the 2020 election. All those challenges, defended the no excuse mail-in ballots, defended the legality of those, defended the legality of secure drop boxes, opportunities for counties to provide notice and an opportunity to cure minor defects of ballots. So I've always been focused on protecting and defending people's rights, and that's what I have the honor of doing every day. And I love my job. I love working with individuals on both sides of the court, whether right now I'm in a criminal room, so whether it's those accused or those who are the alleged victims of a crime. I love working with the individuals and having that, because for a lot of these people, Common Pleas is the first courtroom that they'd ever been in, and being able to work with individual people I find to be an honor, and fairly and equitably applying the law every day is what I really love doing.
Well, thank you for that. So in view of that, and I feel that we sort of widen the parameters here because so I sense that you are in favor of sort of common sense, human rights, our right to vote. And those are many things, among the things that are right now in jeopardy all across the country with people who don't want minorities to vote. in the numbers that they voted in past elections that affected the outcome, obviously. So, Roe versus Wade, which was a very important law that was changed by the Supreme Court. I mean, I don't know if is it suspended right now, or is it what is happening to that?
So, in the wake of the Dobbs decision, which is the one that overruled Roe last term by the Supreme Court, things are now in flux. I mean, you read the opinion, and there's discussion in there about returning that issue to states, but yet federal courts are still involved in it, like the case out of Texas. How that will all settle out over the next 3 or 4 years is unclear to me.
Yeah, well, if it is set as a crime to get rid of a fetus, isn't that already, by that very action, doesn't become a federal case? If it's a crime, murder?
I don't think it would necessarily become a federal case. So, because states, it would depend on the state, right? Because different states will have different laws criminalizing different things. There could be, I'm not aware if there's a federal law that criminalizes that. Some states certainly are either have that or those are in the pipeline. So I think it'll be more of a state prosecution issue if until Congress were to enact some sort of federal law on the issue.
Right. So it's in the... It's more than an inconvenience. It's deleterious to female rights to give the states that kind of power to decide over reproduction right. So I think. Yeah,
so I think in my job as a judge, I would have to apply that. I don't know if that's ever going to come before me, but that's one of those that I wouldn't want to. I can't really speak as to how I would rule on that.
Right.
Because frankly, if I do, then I'd have to recuse myself if that case ever came before me. So that's the way that works. Yeah.
Right. And we're not giving you any money here either, so you don't have to recuse yourself when money comes into question at some point.
Well, recusal is, if there's an appearance that I couldn't be fair, if there's an appearance that my mind has been made up, that sort of thing, I am required to recuse.
The appearance is important. And so that's why this whole thing with Judge Thomas on the Supreme Court, that's why that's under scrutiny.
Well, that's certainly one of the things that they're talking about, that it is the appearance. Now, how that all is going to play out, who knows? But judges have to always, they don't only have to be there fair, they have to appear fair. Because if judges are not appearing fair, are not appearing to follow the law, equitably apply it, hear everybody, see everybody, then there's a loss of faith.
It is, but that's what has happened in the last 5 or 6 years. Our faith in the institutions has suffered, and we don't trust the justice system. Don't trust the voting system because, now it's been challenged everywhere. At the local level, national level, we know what happened. We don't trust our intelligence services because they were discredited. The FBI is under scrutiny. CIA, all our institutions are suffering. The Supreme Court, you being a judge, you understand how dangerous it is that we don't have any faith in the courts.
Yeah, it is dangerous. We need to have faith in the courts. We need to have faith in all branches of government.
Right. But you must admit it's been made more and more difficult for us to just blindly accept all court decisions because now there is doubt has been introduced into almost every court order.
Well, I think again, I would go back to we as judges and any public official needs to be above reproach.
Right.
You just need to be.
But also, you all swear obedience to the Constitution.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Took an oath to defend and uphold the Constitution of the United States and Pennsylvania. And that's what I do every day.
So are there laws, like similar laws that are sort of mirroring the national, the Constitution, the state Constitution versus the national Constitution?
So when we have the U.S. Constitution and all the amendments and that,
Right.
Our state Constitution has many analogous provisions. So there's a right to free speech in both. For example, there's a right to be protected from unreasonable searches and seizures in both. Now, the law has developed in certain areas that the Pennsylvania Constitution, the case law tells us, provides additional protections than the federal Constitution. One instance is in the realm of searches and seizures. Our state Supreme Court has interpreted our constitutional provision on that to provide greater protection than the U.S. Constitution. That's an example. So there are both that are at play in a variety of court cases.
What do you think this, I think New York had it for a while, where they were stop and search, that kind
The
of...
stop and frisk?
Yeah.
Yeah, so as a judge, I hear those cases. So I'm certainly not going to tell you how I'm going to rule on any given set of facts. But the law is that if there's a reasonable suspicion and articulable facts that somebody is armed and dangerous, you can do what's called a Terry frisk, somebody for a weapon. But the law is pretty clear on that. You need to have reasonable suspicion that something is happening, a criminal activity is happening, and articulable facts that that person is armed and dangerous. If you don't have those, then it's against the Constitution. If you do, then it's okay. But again, these cases are all extremely fact specific. You can have the generalized, or not the generalized, but you can have the overarching protections of the U.S. and the Pennsylvania Constitution, but these cases are incredibly fact specific. And that's why, as a judge, I have to listen and be fair to what those facts are.
Another topic that is hot in the news right now is immigrants. And there is like two kinds, legal immigrants and then immigrants that arrived here without papers, without going through the process. Do you think they have the right to the same rights as far as the courts?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Anybody who's in the United States should have those rights.
By virtue of being here, the law protects them?
Yes.
Okay. So in other words, we don't have a right, as was done, to send troops to arrest them immediately?
What do you mean?
Because as they cross the border, sometimes they are arrested because they crossed illegally. And sometimes they take them to an airplane and send them back to their country.
So I think what I was trying to say was that the Constitution applies to anybody who's in this country.
Right.
The U.S. Constitution. Whether a particular state constitution will probably depend on what that state's courts have said and what state the people are in. But the U.S. Constitution applies to anybody who's in this country.
Well, the thing is, right now there's a little bit of chaos with immigration and immigration laws and people who have crowded the border, the U.S. border, in order to sort of take advantage of some change that is coming. And then there are some abuses that have taken place regarding immigrants. And that's very tricky. And I don't know if you can issue an opinion on this because I can see that could be tricky in your case for your future job. Nevertheless, I will ask you anyway. But we're going to take a brief pause here in USALA Media. Estamos en Campus. Les habla Fernando Mendez, en compañía de Kenneth Joel. He's a judge in the Court of Common Pleas, and he's a candidate to take the same job again. So, no se vayan, regresamos en un momento. Pagano's Market and Bar has been serving gourmet Italian foods in Center City for 3 generations. Call Matthew Pagano for all your catering needs And during these difficult times, please mention Fernando Mendez and receive a nice discount along with free delivery. Paganos also makes the finest gift boxes in the city for all your holiday needs. Visit paganosmarketandbar.com. Amigos de USALA Radio, estamos aquí en Compass, en compañía de Kenneth Joel, who's running for Common Pleas Court. He's already a judge on Common Pleas. He just wants that job to be reasserted by the vote.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, are there many candidates looking for this job?
Yeah, so there are 10 openings. Mm-hmm. So 10 spots available on the Court of Common Pleas, and there's 16 people running.
And how many seats have to be filled?
10.
10?
10.
10 on 16. So the odds are pretty good. So, is fundraising difficult for this?
I haven't really done any fundraising.
No?
Nope.
So how do you get your name before the public?
So what I've been...
I mean, this is one way, but I mean...
Yeah, this is a great way. Other things I've done, I've attended a lot of events in the community, go out, meet people at various events. I've been very fortunate in Philadelphia, where there are about a dozen open wards, they're called, where and I have endorsements from all of those. And what that involves is submitted significant amount, like a 35-page questionnaire answer to them, interviews with them, then they deliberate, they recommend to their committee people, and then they vote. And I've been fortunate enough to receive endorsements from all of those. So getting out and meeting those people, attending their events, meeting folks like Senator Phila, I'm endorsed by him, some other elected officials, recently City Council person Kendra Brooks. So just getting out there, attending events, meeting as many people as I can. We have a website, we have a Facebook site, just trying to get my message out and what I've done on the bench, how I approach my job on the bench, and what I've done in my past career. And just very hopeful that that will all coalesce together next Tuesday.
So how does that work? Because if you're a Democrat, you have one level, and you're a Republican, you have another one. So on what list can your name be found?
So I'm running in the Democratic primary. So the whole process was to get on the ballot, I needed to collect 1,000 signatures from Philadelphia registered Democrats. I was fortunate and got somewhere above 2,500 signatures in a 3-week period. We were very successful, had a lot of volunteers and a lot of help out there getting those signatures. So I'm on the ballot. The next step was we pulled randomly a number to determine our ballot position.
Right.
I'm number 3 on the ballot. So if you look at the ballot on the Democratic primary, I'm in the first column, third name down. I'm button number 10. If you're going in to press the button, so you can press 10 for Ken.
Okay.
And that's how the process went.
Well, see, that's important information because, but for the fact that you're here, I wouldn't know, and so that's probably an effective way to communicate that.
Well,
so you have flyers you send out.
I have literature that I bring, and actually I have some in my car. I could leave some here with you if you'd like.
Do you have a campaign office?
No, not an office. I have my campaign manager.
Right.
But no brick and mortar office. But we have literature, we have yard signs, I have my button, we have a website.
So you campaign out of the trunk?
Yeah, somewhat. Drive around to different events around the city and the like, and meet people and talk to as many people as I can, and go to judicial forums and interviews like this and the like, and just try to get out as many people as I can and tell my message.
Okay, so just before the break, I promised to ask you another question about immigration, indirectly only because of what Governor DeSantis did, sending immigrants by bus to New York and Chicago and other cities. That has to be illegal.
I'm not sure how he did it, but I mean, I have not looked at what law he relied on. I mean, I just haven't. I haven't looked at what law he relied on to justify his doing that.
Yeah, because, I mean, in the face of it, that already looks like a breach of trust. I mean, these immigrants come here, for the most part, and I'm one, we come here looking for a better life. We come here to work. And it seems to do that, locating them in a city that they don't know, and just willy-nilly transporting them to these places. That has to be, first of all, it's already immoral, unethical, and the only thing that I would hope is that eventually the vote will come and punish him. That's what, that's why we, as you said about human rights and rights of reproduction and all that, we advocate for it. That's sort of common sense. Besides the fact that the law supports that kind of thing, behavior, it will punish behavior that goes against that kind of good conscience, and that's why I don't understand this whole thing with DeSantis. But he's following the footsteps. I'm not allowed to mention the ex-president in this program because my producer says I should not attack Donald Trump anymore. But this is the result of those years of destroying our faith, again, our faith in the institution. And I'm talking too much, and this is your turn. So, what do you think of this, or this state of the country where laws are constantly being challenged either in the courts, which is acceptable if you go to the court to challenge it, but not by attacking people, not by threatening people, even if they're veiled threats and not real. But we know that many of them are real. Phone calls that say, I'm going to kill you if you don't do this and that. So how do we get back to that sort of more civilized society that we seem to be right now, we have lost?
So I think, so every day when I'm on the bench, I treat people civilly. I've done a lot of lecturing over my career on giving continuing legal educations on things such as civility. And I do think that we have lost a lot of that. But I think that how we get back there is we all have to commit to it, to be civil in our discourse. To be civil, I mean, I am civil when I'm on the bench. To have people who are before me, they're advocating passionately, that's their job, but they have to do it civilly. Because that's just, frankly, if you're uncivil, it detracts from your argument anyway. So be civil, be passionate about what you do, but recognize at the end of the day, we're all in this together. And let's have a civil discourse, whether it's before me as a judge, whether it's in the General Assembly, debating a bill, whatever it is.
Right. Now, and all the time you've been on the court was over a year now, I guess.
Oh, just about, yep.
What are most of your cases about?
So I'm in a criminal room. And my criminal room is such that under our Pennsylvania and the U.S. Constitution, those accused, everybody has the right to a jury trial, but you can waive that right if you want. So I'm in a room where folks are waiving their right to a jury trial. So I don't have juries, so everything is before me. Within that, I've got about 700 cases or so on my docket. Probably a third of them are drug-related, so possession with intent to deliver a controlled substance. Another third are probably gun-related, possessing a gun without a permit and related type charges. And then the other third is a bucket that has assault charges or theft, identity theft, burglary, things like that. So that's about how it breaks down.
Yeah, maybe I'll ask you to describe one of those cases that were you say you decide as opposed to a jury. What is better? From your point of view, what is better to to face.
I don't think either is better or worse. I just think it's a choice that the defendant, that the person accused, after consultation with their attorney, can make an informed choice. And before, there's a whole process that we go through, asking a series of questions to make sure that the person fully understands the rights they're giving up, that they're giving them up knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily, because it is an incredibly important decision. I don't think one is better or worse than the other.
Well, I don't know. If I was accused of something, I think I would ask a jury to decide, and not a judge, because you could be in a bad mood that day. So, what do you think of that?
Well, I do not let my mood influence what I do one way or the other.
I don't know. You got bad coffee that day, and you're going to say, what am I going to do?
I have my same 2 cups of coffee every day. I don't deviate from
2
that.
cups? Oh, now
Now
makes
you're worried.
me nervous
Now
already.
you're worried.
Yeah.
No, I don't let anything come in from the outside. I don't let things that are happening outside come into my courtroom when I'm making a decision. I'm on the bench. I'm focused on what is before me, the evidence that's being presented by both sides, whether it's the direct examination, the exhibits, the cross-examination, the arguments that everybody's providing. I really strive every day to hear and see everybody, and by doing that, understand them, and then fairly and equitably apply the law. I've always thought in my 30-something years as being a lawyer before I took the bench, what I would tell clients is, look, before this judge or this jury or whatever the case was, if I could come out of that room and tell the client, we were heard, we were understood, and the jury or the judge is going to reasonably and thoughtfully apply the law to what we've said. They understand us, and they're going to give us, and they're going to thoughtfully do their job. That's all I can ask for. And that's what I try to do every single day.
But there is, jury trials. What happens when they're sort of deadlocked? I mean, that's one of those things. Like,
yeah. So
how many people out of a jury of 9 usually?
So in Philadelphia County, if folks want to go to a jury trial, it's 12.
12.
Mm-hmm. And
so that's an even number.
And any decision has to be unanimous.
Oh.
So
okay.
In a criminal trial with 12 people on the jury, you need all 12 people to say that the person is not guilty, that the Commonwealth didn't prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt,
right,
or that the Commonwealth did prove it beyond a reasonable doubt and the person is guilty. You need all 12. If you don't, the judge can send them back a few times and the like, and we
right,
see where it goes. But ultimately, it could be a hung jury, and it could start all over again.
Wow.
But it does have to be unanimous.
Right. And what is the other thing, that if you're found guilty, no, you're found innocent, you're going to be tried again for the same infraction?
Yeah, so in the U.S. and the Pennsylvania constitutions, there's a thing known as the double jeopardy clause.
Right.
And you can't be put in jeopardy twice for the same crime.
Right.
In layman's terms. So yes, if you are found not guilty, if the Commonwealth hasn't proven its case, they can't come back for another bite at the apple on those charges. Now, if it's a different charge, if it's a different sovereign, like the feds versus the state, there are nuances to that. But in general, if somebody is acquitted of a crime in Philadelphia County, X crime, they can't be tried for X crime again.
Well, you're in criminal court. We don't have the death penalty, right, in Pennsylvania?
I think it's technically on the books, but it has not. Governor Wolf and Governor Shapiro are
right.
Not.
Yeah, I kind of see.
Not signing any death
I kind of
warrants.
see Shapiro doing that. I like what he eliminated, the requirement of diplomas in order to work for the state. What a great move, because there are many people whose life experience will qualify them for many of these jobs, and they don't have that piece of paper.
Well, making it easier for people to work, easier for people to vote. I mean,
Right.
all these things.
Well, we have a few more questions for you. You're not off the hook here. I have more stuff to ask you, so
Okay.
we're going to take another break here en USALA Media. Les habla Fernando Mendez en Compass, en compañía de Judge Joel. Regresamos en un momento. Amigos de USALA Media, estamos aquí de nuevo en Compass, en compañía de Judge Kenneth Joel, el candidato para juez de la Corte de Common Pleas en Filadelfia. Well, I have a couple of questions for you. First
Sure.
of all, let's get this one out of the way. Why should people vote for you?
So I think people should vote for me because I have a unique background as opposed running for this job. Number one, I'm already a judge. I've been doing the job for several months. Every day I get to fairly and equitably apply the law after hearing and seeing everybody. I run a docket of about 700 cases through all stages, from the beginning scheduling through post-trial motions and post-sentencing motions. So I'm already experienced in doing the job. Before that, I was Deputy General Counsel to Governor Wolf for about 5 years. Before that, I was with the AG's office, including being Chief Deputy to Josh Shapiro. Since 2008, I have been dedicated to public service, and my legal career has been in public service. It's been protecting the rights of people. Before that, I was in private practice, protecting, ensuring that employers didn't discriminate, and also building an environmental practice that focused on communities and people and individuals. So my entire legal career since 1991 has been focused on protecting the rights of people. I have private practice experience. I have public sector experience. I have experience as a judge. I'm recommended by the bar. I have support and endorsements from all of the open wards, plus a lot of elected officials. And I think all of that together, plus the fact that I am a teacher at heart. And what I mean by that is I teach law. I feel that it's my way of giving back to the next generation of attorneys. I've taught law now for several years. I've provided CLE courses when I was a lawyer on things such as civility and persuasiveness. I was tapped by the National Association of Attorneys General to travel around the country and teach newer deputy attorneys general trial techniques and trial advocacy so that they could be prepared. I believe that that's an obligation I have to give back and to teach and to mentor the next generation of lawyers. And I even get a chance to do that on the bench, demanding comprehensive but precise arguments from all the counsel, asking questions, being prepared, and focusing on what's going on in front of me and being fair and equitable. So I think for all those reasons, I deserve people's vote.
Well, thank you for that answer. That sort of preempts my question. I was going to say, what do you prefer, being a lawyer or being a judge?
I prefer I have been very fortunate through my career to do different things. Mm-hmm. But being a judge is really the most wonderful job I've ever had. And being a common pleas judge especially, I think I mentioned before, I'm not dealing with companies on the criminal side. I'm dealing with individuals. I'm dealing with individuals, and decisions that I make are going to impact the community. Mm-hmm. Whether it's granting a motion to suppress and the evidence gets thrown out, whether it's denying a motion to suppress and something goes to trial, my decision is going to impact not only those people who are before me, but their families and their extended communities. That is very humbling work, and it is an honor to do it, and I thoroughly enjoy what I do. And it's different. I'm no longer persuading. I mean, as a lawyer, my job was to persuade somebody. Now my job is to take all that information in and fairly and equitably apply the law. And it's a different skill set and it's a different job, but it's one that I thoroughly enjoy.
It requires more, what they call the judicial temperament.
Yeah,
requires
it does.
More of that.
It does. It's not, my job is no longer to convince a jury or a judge that my client is correct.
Right.
My job is to apply the law. If the law is this, I take in the information, I ask questions, I make sure I understand all the participants, whether that's, like I say, the person who's been accused, the person who's the alleged victim, the officer, the family member who wants to speak in support, whoever it is. I want to make sure I hear them and I give them an opportunity to present what it is they want me to know. That way I can fairly and equitably apply the law. And it is much, much different than being a lawyer.
So which one would you favor, the literal interpretation or this sort of ability to use the same laws but give them a little more of a nuance?
I think as a common pleas judge, and this is probably important for folks to know. So common pleas, it's the trial judge.
Right.
I have above me the superior court. When I make a mistake, or the superior court tells me what the law is. I have statutes that tell me what the law is. I have the Pennsylvania Supreme Court telling me what the law is. If they've told me what the law is, then that's what the law is. I apply it. Now, I do apply it fairly and equitably by hearing and listening to everybody. But if that's the law, and that's how appellate courts that are binding on me have applied and have interpreted the law, then that's the law.
That's the record, yes.
Yeah.
Except we know what happened with the Roe versus Wade. They didn't care about precedent.
Well,
So that's another issue. Now, you mentioned in passing the people in prisons, and we had somebody who was in our station a while ago who served 35 years in prison, and Suave Gonzalez, and he's a media personality after this. When he was a young man, he was told that his IQ was not big enough to do anything, but he got a master's degree in prison, and now he's a very productive citizen. So those laws that have sort of it's a straitjacket for judges, I guess, because there's a minimum that is mandated. What do you think of those laws that require that no matter what it is?
So again, I mean, if there is a mandatory minimum, then that is the law. I mean, what my personal feeling about that really is irrelevant, and somebody's personal feeling about a law, if they are a judge, really should be irrelevant. If people think that those should be changed, you need to get the law changed with the General Assembly and signed by the governor.
Do you have the latitude to add to that instead of just the minimum if you think the infraction is serious enough to?
Oh, sure. I mean, if there's a minimum, then
you go from there.
Yeah, but
right.
There are certain crimes where there is a mandatory minimum. That's the floor.
Right.
A judge, in their discretion, can go beyond that.
There's a whole project to free people who went to prison unjustly or whose sentences are too long, corresponding to their sins, to their transgressions. Like how many people went to jail for weed, for pot, and then now it becomes legal, so they're probably in prison saying, why am I here?
That's going to have to be a whole thing decided by the legislature, I'm sure.
At that point, it has to be
I would think so, yeah. I mean, there would have to be something.
It's a fact that the voters don't pay as much attention to judges when it comes to the vote, and judges have more of an effect on our daily lives. So we should be more judicious about voting for who's going to be on the bench, right? Knowing more about.
I agree. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to have more opportunity to come in contact with a judge, whether it's on the civil side, a family side, whatever, than they're going to come in contact with the mayor, for example, or the governor. I mean, I just think that's the reality.
Right.
And it is important.
Most people will probably never see the mayor. More likely to see a judge than the mayor.
So it is
or
important.
the governor. So, Judge, thank you for being with us. I mean, this has been helpful for me to understand more things about what it means to be a judge. And I have a sense you protect goodness and common sense, so I'm going to wish you good luck in your
thank you.
endeavor to become.
I really do appreciate it. Do you mind if I put my website out there?
So will you please? Yeah, we'll help you with putting it on the screen also.
Okay.
But so you want to say the ballot and?
Yeah, sure. So Judge Kenneth Joel, Common Pleas Court, running for a full term. I am button number 10. So push 10 for Ken. My website is judgejoelforjudge.com. You can go there, see all of our endorsements, go from there to our Facebook page, see that, and appreciate and be honored to receive your support and vote. Thank you.
10 for Ken. You could be a rapper, you know that.
My campaign person came up with that.
Well, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Hemos estado en compañía del juez Kenneth Joel. Esperamos que le vaya bien en estas elecciones. Muchas gracias a ustedes por su sintonía. Este programa lo dirigió Dylan de Rosato y Dani Ramos. Nos despedimos de ustedes. Fernando Mendez. Hasta la próxima.